Welcome back to Building Winners Week 3. A huge week for the Land for Peteys. If you haven't noticed, that's my team name, is the Land for Peteys. Now, you probably have a second question. One is, when in the world is this dude going to get a haircut? Happening soon. Don't worry. Now, the third question you're going to have is, what the hell am I wearing, right? I mean, look at this. And then there's blue down here. Look at this. What the hell is this? So, this is going to be the sweep jacket. I'll give you a preview. We sweeped this week. Won all three. Let's go. So, anytime we sweep, I'm bringing out the Don Cherry equivalent of the sweep jacket. I don't actually know if he has a sweep jacket. This is going to be my sweep jacket. So, anyways, we sweeped all three leagues. I'll get into like the details of them in a second, but it was a really crazy week. In one league, like literally every day, it was, I'm going to lose, I'm going to tie, I'm going to win, and it changed all the time. That was the keeper league. Against Brandon, it literally came down to the last 2 days, and then in the points league, it pretty much came down to the last day as well. So it was a really insane week. So I'm going to try to get that across and explain how exactly that happened. And next week as well, I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to do a little bit more of a talking about it in real time. So every single day, I'll record a little bit of a video just real quickly to explain the moves I made so that it's a little bit more real time. And then every Monday, you'll get kind of a glimpse at how every single day of the week went and all the decisions I made, all the stress I was under and all that. So that it's less of a review and more of a actual in real time, what the hell am I thinking? What is going on? And real stress. If I'm losing that day, you'll see me be a little bit stressed about losing. So that's going to be how it goes. So let's get into how last week went pretty much immediately. So let's start with Hockrus, which had a ridiculous matchup because I was playing Brandon, and that's the biggest matchup of the year. That's the one I care about the most, is when I play Brandon. And normally, almost always, we split 5-5, or it ends up being some kind of like a 6-4 thing. Like, it almost always is that, because we build our teams pretty similarly. And so at the end of the day, we're really balanced. And pretty much the same thing happened this week. Of course, we finished 5-4. It was so close. Look at the games played. I had 56. Brandon had 55. It was down to the wire. So what was the difference maker in our matchup? The difference maker was blocks. I won by 1 block, and it happened literally at the last second. So if you were watching the Oilers game against the Winnipeg, Clefbaum had a block at literally the last second. He like dove in front of the net, stopped the shot. That's what won me the week, which is insane. I was watching that. I was like, oh my God, no. And then Raquel was going, and I was watching the Anaheim game and didn't know that was Brandon's last guy. So it all came down to that. Now, the other thing that was really important was goaltending. So we tied in wins, and goals against average, I had kind of a shot, but not really. And then in save percentage, 919 to 914. What happened there? So what happened was Brandon entered, I think it was Saturday or Friday night. He entered with like a 9.56, I think it was, on the save percentage. And he stupidly wanted to chase wins, and he played Vasilevsky. For whatever reason, he decided, I'm going to play Vasilevsky. And I even have a message where I sent him in a private chat. I was like, why in the world are you playing Vasilevsky? You're up by 3 cats. Why are you risking this? There's no reason to it. And he played him, and Vasilevsky got shelled. And of course, the boy, Jacob Markstrom, comes in with a win, a 2.00 and a 9.50 save percentage. Huge win for me. So that let me tie in wins, and then it also let me catch him in save percentage, which was massive. I was down like 73 pretty much the entire week until that happened, and it let me have a glimmer of hope. Now, let's talk about the other important things of what happened in the week. Now that you know that I won, especially against Brandon, which is huge. That's the equivalent of winning the league. Not really, but close. Let's talk about the MVP of the week, which was John Carlson. 1 goal, 7 assists, 2 PIMs, 2 power play points, 8 shots on goal, 4 hits, and 9 blocks. An absolute beast. The dude does not know how to slow down. I mean, at this point, he's got to be a favorite for the Norris. Now, I know we've talked about on the show about selling him high. The thing with this league is that in this league specifically, kind of what tends to happen is guys are really smart, and it's hard to shop people off. So I don't think I'd actually get what John Carlson is worth in this league, because everyone is pretty smart and knows what they're doing. If I tried to pawn him off, I'd probably get way less than his value, and that's not really what I want. So I'm going to keep him. I'm going to kind of hope for the best. I think he can continue being a beast. I don't think he'll continue at this level. Obviously, he's leading the league in points, I think now, or close to it. But yeah, I don't see a reason right now to sell him off. I'm just gonna hold. I know there's gonna be some tough times coming up with John Carlson just because he has to level off, I think, at some point. Otherwise, he's gonna be breaking some records. So I'm not moving John Carlson. I'm high on him. Now, let's move on to the moves I made for the week. So early in the week, I think I kind of preluded this last week. In last week's Building Winners, I talked about doing this, but I added Justin Schultz. I had to put Markstrom on IR+, so I added Justin Schultz up. I figured, you know what, I can get a defenseman, just kind of maximize starts there. And I liked the power play upside, even though he didn't get any points for me this week. He might have gotten an assist, actually, if I remember correctly. Anyways, and then most importantly, and with Brandon, of course, our first trade of the season. Yes, we made a trade. Not one you would have expected. Now, Brandon had 3 Jets, and he wanted to move off the Jets because he felt he had too many. He had Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler, and Nikolai Ehlers. So I told him, you know what? How about we do Stamkos for Wheeler? So that's the trade. The trade is Stamkos for Wheeler, 1-for-1. Pretty lateral move, honestly, for both of us. It's a fair trade, I think. It addresses both of our issues. I'm having a lot of issues with assists. I'm pretty down there. I'm doing really well in goals, but not high enough in assists. And also my hits aren't fantastic. And so for that reason, I liked... And Blake Wheeler is shooting a lot this season. So I like the upside of, I think I'll get a few less power play points, but I think I'll be fine with power play points, especially once Malkin comes back. But with Malkin coming back and now having Blake Wheeler, I think it adds to the hits, and it also adds kind of in assists for me, which I need a lot of. So I took a little bit of a hit in goals, but more than anything, I'm banking on the assists upside, not losing that many power play points with Blake Wheeler. Then on top of that, I get the hits because he's hitting way more this season. So I like the trade for me. I also like it for Brandon. Honestly, it's not really a fleecing in either way. It was just both of us kind of addressing each other's issues and problems. The other thing I like is that Brandon actually has line A. And so if it comes down to it, I'll have Wheeler to counter his line A if it comes down to playoffs. And I don't mind that. That's not really a reason to make a trade, but it's the reason I'm kind of one of the things that was like, okay, fine, cool. It kind of gets me over the edge on the trade, but I'm the one that offered the trade, so I like it. And for preseason, I had Blake Wheeler ranked 4th overall in this league, and I had Stamkos ranked, I think it was like 10th or 11th. So, you know, to me, it's a win. It's a win necessarily for what I need in the way the league is working out, especially if I'm going to end up keeping Olofsson, if he can score as many goals as I hoped, and I also have Jeff Skinner, or I have Jonathan Hubert, or I have Anders Lee if he can actually figure it out. I have the goals kind of figured out. It was more assists that I couldn't find where to get assists from, so I figured I'd bite the bullet here and make a big trade. So now moving on to the other moves that I made this week. So I had to activate Markstrom from IR+. You saw how pivotal his performance against the Rangers was for me, and I ended up dropping Nikita Gusev, who was on our Monday episode drop worthy. So I dropped Nikita Gusev. It's time. His minutes have dropped way too much. So I'm glad I finally made that move. Now, the other pivotal move I made this week to allow me to win blocks was adding Nikita Zaitsev for Tyler Bertuzzi. Now, Nikita Zaitsev that day came in and had 6 blocks for me. 6! Which was insane. So the fact that he got me 6 blocks was huge. I'm a huge fan of that. That actually allowed me to kind of catch Brandon in hits, or in blocks, sorry. And then also, of course, you know, I also had Dougie Hamilton get me 2 blocks. Drew Doughty got me 3 that night. So it allowed me to kind of catch him. Brandon and I were actually 1 and 2 in blocks this week. So it was pretty much just us 2 against the world in terms of blocks, which makes it super annoying for Brandon, of course, because it's always annoying when you're at the top of the league in a category and still somehow lose it, especially by only 1. So I'm keeping Nikita Zaitsev through this coming week as well. I think he's a pretty good long-term add. And if you look at my defense, if Dougie Hamilton can keep it up, if Drew Doughty can keep it up, John Carlson and Oscar Klefbom, I can afford to have one specialist, which is Nikita Zaitsev. And so we'll see how he continues. If he can continue blocking and hitting like he is, I'm definitely keeping him for the long term. And then the last move I made to help me out on the last day of the week was adding Chris Russell, and I dropped Justin Schultz. I didn't want to do it, but I told myself that if I ended Saturday night up in blocks or tied, I'd add Chris Russell. And so I beat out Brandon in the bid for Chris Russell. He picked up Brent Seabrook to chase blocks. I picked up Chris Russell. Of course, it came at needing to drop Justin Schultz. Now, I could have dropped Nikita Zaitsev, but the thing is that Zaitsev has 4 off nights this week. The person I'm playing, as you see up above, has a kind of half and half record. I think I can do pretty well against them. And one of the places they're strong in, or that I think I can kind of beat them in, is hits. Even though I'm not strong in hits, I think that's one of the ones I can take. So by keeping Zaitsev, I get a little bit of hits, and of course I can destroy in blocks and be pretty competitive in blocks the rest of the season, I think. So I'm keeping Nikita Zaitsev, but then with Justin Schultz, the reason I dropped him more than anything was that there's a lot of guys coming back soon for the Pens. Evgeny Malkin apparently skated, so he might be closer. I'm doing fine in power play points and just points in general. And Justin Schultz wasn't getting me that many peripherals, so it didn't matter. And if I would have kept him, I would have had way too many defensemen later anyway. So I ended up dropping Chris Russell, which we'll get into next week. Again, remember, I'm doing it a little bit different for next week, so I'll talk more about what I'm doing for this week. I'll preview the week, but I'm going to talk more about what I actually do in pickups on a Monday next week. So if we talk now about this week's matchup, so the person I'm playing is 10-10-0. They are in 6th place at the moment. They have not set lines, but they currently have 44 starts. I have 52. I think I may have less starts, but that's somewhat okay. So remember, it's gritty chitty bang bang. Love that name. It should be a good matchup. I think it'll be close, but I think I can edge them out just from a totals perspective. So I'm excited for this one more than I think it's a contested matchup. They're not exactly a slouch. It's not going to be like playing one of the bottom teams that I think I can take. Really, everyone kind of from 11, even 12. 12 is a little bit of a easier team at the moment, but I think anyone from 11 up is going to be a tough matchup week to week. Not necessarily that I can't take them on, but it'll be competitive every single week, I think. Okay, so now moving on to the Points League CI Episode 6. Although, honestly, they changed it to CI Episode 4, Return of the Backups. So I guess I might need to change this. They finally came up with a name, and it's Return of the Backups, which actually is pretty appropriate for this season. So let's talk about this league. So I ended up winning 124.85 to 111.25. We both over-indexed on our original projections, which are right here. So it was 116.3 to 100.23. I was nervous the whole week. It honestly came down to really the big difference maker, of course, David Pastrnak. Oh, MVP. Let's talk about him real quick. So David Pastrnak was the MVP of the week. By far, he was second overall in the league. Which is crazy with these stats that he was second overall only, but 7 goals, 2 assists, 1 gaming winning goal, 11 shots on goal, 2 hits and 1 block. Massive game from him. It added up to 27.5 points for me on the week, which was a lot. So if you take a look at all my forwards, Giordano got me 10.10, but then everybody else was kind of floundering a little bit, and then there's David Pastrnak with 27 points. And then really one of the big difference makers as well was Carey Price, who got me 17.5 points total on the week. He had that shutout against Minnesota, and then had a fantastic game against St. Louis and got the win and only 2 goals against. So Carey Price has been on fire. Bobrovsky gets me negative again. Bobrovsky's killing me, but I have to be patient. I think Florida is better than this. I think Bobrovsky is better than this. And if you watch, I watched the Florida game because I wanted to see it for my own eyes, and a lot of the shots are difficult. They're not really beating him necessarily with easy goals. There's a lot of screens, a lot of high danger chances. So I'm not that worried at the moment just yet. But of course, I can't really do anything either, right? And Dubnyk finally got a win. I didn't play him, but he finally got a win. So I'm hoping this sparks something in him. And if he's had such a difficult schedule, I mean, he's played Toronto, Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, Colorado, Nashville. You can't ask for like a harder start to the season for a goaltender. So I'm fine with Dubnyk, and I'm going to be patient here. And I'm excited to see if he can get me some points this week. So if we talk about this matchup, the big difference maker, like I said, was David Pastrnak and Carey Price, and my goaltender's kind of finally doing something. It was really hard to play. Their goaltending tandem is incredible right now. Antti Ranta, Darcy Kemper. I love that stack in this league because goals against matter quite a bit. And on top of that, they got the wins, which is Arizona's kind of finally figuring out. Mikko Koskinen gets insane amount of saves because Edmonton gets outshot every single game by a ridiculous amount. This game had me really nervous. This 49 save match, he got 9.75 points. It was putting me in quite the hole, and I had to make up a lot. I mean, if David Pastrnak hadn't gone off, I don't think I would have won this week. So really, I owe this entire week to David Pastrnak. But it was a fun one. It really did come down to the last day. So the last day we were tied virtually, and then Jacob Markstrom got the 9 points, and so a lot of it really didn't matter. But Saturday was really the deciding day. That was when it was really, really close. I didn't know what was going to happen, and they only had 2 people going on Sunday. So I had like 4 plus Markstrom. So once Markstrom got those points, I wasn't really stressing it anymore. But it was close all the way to the end. So it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I think next week it'll be better when I go through this on a day-by-day basis, that you can actually see the stress that I was under, as opposed to right now it seems like, yay, I won and I'm not worried. But I was nervous the entire week. The entire week, for sure. So anyways, I'm proud of how the team did. We both had even games played at the end of the day. I felt good about it. So if we talk about the ads that I made throughout the week, I added Justin Schultz for Eric Howla, who you can see here, which this was stupid because it literally the same exact day I had to drop Justin Schultz for Markstrom because he came back, and I needed Markstrom for that Sunday game, which ended up getting me 9 points in. So it was worth it, but I didn't really want to lose Justin Schultz because I have a defenseman slot empty. But I kind of had to do it. What I was more bummed by was that Eric Howla went day to day as soon as I dropped him. Like literally, I dropped him an hour later, not even an hour. I think it was like 30 minutes later. He was marked day to day because he was injured, and I didn't know he was injured. And so I could have placed him on IR plus and not had to drop anybody, which was really annoying. But whatever, it is what it is. I wouldn't have much room for Eric Howla this week anyways, and I already have Aho, who is frustrating. Oh, I don't have Aho. I have Barkov. What am I saying? I don't know why I said I have Aho. Anyways, I have Barkov, who's on day-to-day, so we'll see what happens there. That'll put me in a little bit of a pickle. And then the last thing I did was for Sunday, just in case, like, say, Markstrom did really poorly or something, I picked up the insurance and Jakob Silverberg, who got me a goal. So he's doing really well. The problem is, as you'll see this week, is I can't start him that much this week, but I don't really want to drop him either. He's been on fire. He's 39th ranked in the league. I feel like if I drop him, I'm going to lose him. And so I want to hold on and see what happens because he might be worth more than Atkinson, to be honest. So I may want to keep him over Atkinson. Just one of those things I'm thinking. And honestly, Olofsson as well. I'm not going to have that long of a leash on Olofsson if he gets moved down to the second line or something. But he's skating on the top line, top power play. So I'm going to have patience with him. But he is kind of frustrating in the regards that he doesn't get any peripherals whatsoever. But from a points perspective, he has that upside. Okay, so taking a look at what is going to happen in this week's matchup. Let's go over here. I am down in the projection as a preview here. I'm down by a few points, but it's close. It's 112 to 108. GCT is 2-0. They are third place. I went up to sixth place in this league from I was in ninth place last week, so moved up a little bit. But this week will be a little bit interesting. I currently have only 41 games. They have 45, and I'm pretty sure they've set their lines. Let's take a look at like Saturday, for example. Seems like they have set their lines. Yes, they have. So I'm being outstarted right now, and that's where it's going to get into an issue of I need to decide what the hell I'm going to do with like Silverberg, for example, or Atkinson, like people that I'm just not playing very much. I could pick up a defenseman, but defensemen just aren't worth very much. So I think maximizing my forward starts is the way to go. Paul Stastny is still out there, and I just have too many centers already as it is. I have Barkov on IR or on IR plus, and then I have Kopi and Dubois. And so on there's days where Stastny and Kopi and Dubois overlap. But of course, like a Dubois, for example, don't know how long I want to keep him for. I may need to start shopping him around. But I feel good about where this team is at. I kind of hope I get some clarity on goaltending soon in terms of like Dubnyk, Price, Bobrovsky, Markstrom, what's all their values, although they're all doing well right now, and obviously I want to hold out for Dubnyk, and this week they don't really overlap too much. And so I'm not too worried. I'm not going to rush on this goaltender thing. I'm 1-1 at the moment. This day sucks. Like, take a look at Tuesday, and it's tough. Like, I could play him over Dustin Brown, but Dustin Brown is playing so many minutes. I'll kind of make a gut check on this, and they both play hard matchups. Then I have Victor Olofsson, who I'm currently benching over these guys. Kyle Connor's been kind of quiet, to be honest, but he's playing a lot of minutes. It's tough because I have these two guys who I'm just not playing on certain days, and these empty roster spots are killing me, and it's making it a little bit tough. And then here I have a little bit of overlap in goaltending. I'm obviously playing Markstrom at Detroit. Then you have him versus Edmonton at home. I'd probably play Bob against Pittsburgh. But anyways, there's decisions to be made. I'll go through them as I make them in the following week. But I'm feeling good about where I'm at in this league. If we take a look really quick here at point totals. So from a points total perspective, I have 296, which is good. I'm really close right here to fifth place of 1-1, or someone that's 1-1. These teams are kind of insane at the moment. I think they're a little over-indexed. If you look at this team, They have John Carlson, who's just been ridiculous and been doing really well for them. And on top of that, they have Hutton and Gibson, who are playing out of their minds, especially Hutton. So, they got 2 straight shutouts in the last week from Carter Hutton. So, of course, they're going to have ridiculous points. So we'll see how it goes. Because from a projection standpoint, like, I'm not that far off from these other teams. And right now, a big thing is just kind of roster composition, which I want to figure out sometime more towards the middle of the season. I'm not going to stress about that at the moment. Just because I do have good players and I don't want to rush on making decisions and rush to win weeks simply because I want to win. I'm going to take the patient route here and try to win later down the road. Okay, and now on to the Keeper League, which was... This is the one I was talking about where it was literally like every single day it was a completely different result. And every single day I thought it was going a different direction. And I talked to the owner, Lance, and I was messaging with him. And we both said the same thing. We were like, we have no idea how this matchup is going to go. This has been insane. And it was so close, literally down to the wire. I mean, this was decided literally last day. I was down in wins to start Sunday. And I ended up getting a win from Markstrom and a win from Hellebuck, which ended up getting me the wins. And we were really close in saves. I wasn't worried about saves because I knew I had 2 goalies going and they didn't. But the wins was what was really worrying. That was not great. I was down by 1. And ended up coming back with 2. So that ended up getting me the win. The wins was the difference maker in this matchup. I was close at one point in assists. I kind of creeped up, and then he kind of ran away with it when it came to, I think it was Domi who got an assist. Yeah, Domi got an assist. Petey got an assist. Besser got a goal, and that's where he ran away with power play points. Domi and Petey connected on the power play, and then Besser got a power play point. So he ran away with it towards the end. I actually got pretty lucky, probably, that Kucherov was, as quiet as he was. But I did have some ridiculous performances that helped me out. Shots on goal were closer than it seems here, in my opinion. I was stressing that a little bit. Did well in hits. Blocks I was disappointed in. I picked up, I'll talk about this one, I guess, my first pickup here for that weekend. I picked up Christopher Tanev and dropped Jordan Stahl. I had added Jordan Stahl earlier in the week. I had talked about that last week that I was going to do that. He didn't really do much for me. If you look at down here, what he did, he only got me 6 shots and 5 hits, so didn't really do much for me. And then I picked up Chris Tanev for the Saturday, Sunday to try to get me blocks. He was one of the best blockers going into this matchup, and somehow he got 1 and 0. He hasn't gotten 0 all season. Lovely. So the guy I picked up for blocks gets me an assist. Not what I needed, but sure, I guess. It didn't really do much for me, which kind of sucks. But I think I can be better in blocks. So I'm gonna pick up. I'm gonna aim to pick up Zaitsev in this league, for example. I talked about that last week, and I should have done that this week. I probably would have won. I would have won blocks if I would have done that. I talked about that last week. That I think that this roster, my keeper roster at the moment, needs a specialist on defense, and so I think I'm gonna target a Zaitsev this week now, because last week I wanted Zaitsev and I didn't get him. And I think it's important to have a specialist in this league because I'm doing pretty well in power play points, doing well in goals, doing well in shots, doing well in hits, but my blocks are something that needs a specialist. And so I think like a Zaitsev would be perfect for this league and put me in a really, really competitive spot. Okay, and then if saves, I'm almost never going to be worried in. I'm really happy with my save percentage. I'll take losing to a 9.30 every week. That's fine. That's not going to happen very often. I'm fine with a 9.19. I mean, my guys did incredible. Really, what tanked me was I played Vasilevsky that night against Colorado. That was not fun. If I wouldn't have done that, I probably would have been fine in save percentage. I got close. with the shutout from Hellebuck and the 9.50 from Markstrom, but obviously was not enough. So if we let's take a step back here real quick and talk about the MVP of the week, which was, again, Connor McDavid. Yeah, he's a monster. 1 goal, 4 assists, 2 power play points, 11 shots on goal, 2 hits, and 2 blocks. Now, the thing that was a little bit crappy about McDavid was he had that 5-point night, which is where all those points come from. And then he did nothing. And then he got nothing. So that was not great. I wouldn't have been happy about that. Or I wasn't happy about that, rather. I would have liked to get some points there. That would have been really helpful. I was kind of banking. I think if McDavid would have gotten me a few assists more, I could have competed on assists. But the thing is, at the end of the day, too, like, you can't complain about a 5-point night. I'll never complain about a 5-point night. But I don't... It's not great that he didn't get points after that. Now, let's take a look at the manager that I'm playing this week. This should be a pretty easy matchup for me this week. The person I'm playing is 5-11-2, last place in the league. I don't think I should have trouble in this one. 46 games played to 53. Not too worried. Their goaltenders aren't fantastic. I think Braden Holtby could give me a little bit of trouble in terms of, but I think he's only going to get 2 Holtby games. I don't remember what day of the week this week ends. Yeah, so he's only going to get 2 Holtby games, which is good for me. And then he's going to have to play Jones and Quick at some point. I think he'll probably opt to play Jones, but I think Quick has a pretty tough week. Minnesota, obviously. Minnesota being the easiest one, but they do have a back-to-back, so we'll see if he actually even gets that Minnesota one or if he gets Chicago. But I should be fine in goaltending for the most part. Obviously, Markstrom gets Detroit, then Washington, then Florida. Hellebuck has an easy schedule in LA, Calgary, and Anaheim. Just low-scoring teams outside of Calgary. And then Vasilevsky has, well, yeah, I only get 2 Vasilevsky games. Not fantastic. And Pittsburgh and Nashville, at least they're at home. I'll definitely play him, but I feel good about goaltending. I'm not worried there. And then if we take a look at where we rank here compared to them, let's look at what I think I can beat them in. So 2-0 in goals against, or goals, what am I saying? Let's take a look at totals here. So second in goals as a total, Sharkbait, who I'm playing, this is Sharkbait, has 39. So goals could be a little bit competitive, but they weren't great last week. So I guess it was just a anomaly last week that they got a low amount of goals. And if we look at assists, they actually have me beat on assists. So points are going to be where they're a little bit tough. So this is where it gets back to what I was saying in I need a specialist, because I think I can beat them in blocks. So if we look at blocks, they have 107, but they were so over-indexed that first week. They outstarted me by a ton. I remember that. So last week they did okay. They're not fantastic, and I have 72. I did a lot better last week. In hits, I can beat them in hits pretty handedly. In blocks is where I need to be a little bit more competitive in. But again, if I can get a specialist like a Zaitsev, this brings up my, especially if he has 4 games this week, I can easily catch up there. Then in shots on goal, I should beat them pretty handily in shots on goal. Power play points, they're actually first in the league. I'm off by not much, honestly. So I'm not too far off when it comes to power play points. So I'm not too worried about that. And then assists. And then if we look at goaltenders, of course, first in wins, first in saves, and right up there in save percentage. And they're at the bottom of save percentage. Bottom of saves? No, they're right there in saves because they have Quick, Jones, and Holtby who get volume. And then they're towards the bottom in wins, of course. So I'm not too worried about goaltending, honestly, this week. Famous last words. But I think I should do fine. So I think we're looking good for this week. I don't know if the sweep jacket will be back. Largely just because of that points league. I think that's going to be the toughest matchup for me this week. I think I should do fine in my 2 cats leagues, which is, of course, Hockrus and my keeper league, ECFHL. But I feel good about how we'll go. I think if I can do some roster maximization in the middle of the week when it comes to my points league, I think that'll be better. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Also, if you can guess where this jacket comes from, what's the inspiration for this jacket, I'll send you a scarf and beanie. So let me know in the comments. If it's not this video, maybe a future video, but that will always be out there, that the first person that gets where this jacket is from will get a scarf and beanie. Now, the other thing that, like I said, next week we'll do it a little bit differently. I'll have a different format for this, which I think will be way more enjoyable and will make a ton more sense in terms of just being a review. I don't want it to be just a review. I want it to be more real time. So I'm going to change it up a little bit to give you that experience. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like. Be sure to subscribe to get this video next week and get our hot hands, bust watch, week reviews, all the things we do before anybody else. And again, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.